Greetings, good people. Listen, 1 in 7 teenagers, they're sending explicit images right now. Okay, right now. 1 in 4 have received them. In 23 states, that is a felony. That is a felony charge. Not a warning, not a detention slip. It is a felony with sex offender registration as a possible outcome. Absolutely. Listen, child pornography prosecutors, they are increasing, not declining cases like this. Prosecutions have increased 34% since 2020, and 90% of teenagers believe their peers are doing the same thing. They think it's normal. They think it's low stakes, low risk. I don't understand that. They have no idea what the law says. I personally would make my kids read the laws from we're in California, from California's laws off the website. So they knew it wasn't something I was just making up. The gap right there between what your child assumes and what the law actually does is exactly where futures get destroyed. Welcome to the Judgy Podcast. I'm Tonya McKenzie, your chief controller, and today we are going all the way in on this subject because I thought it would be dying down by now. You know what I'm saying? I thought that this was a trend that would eventually go away once kids start hearing about how others are getting in trouble, and it hasn't. It's actually increased. I need to tell you about a child, though, a child that I love personally. Not a case study, not a news headline, not something I just pulled off the internet. I want to tell you about a child who sat at my dinner table, a child who has been in my house, a child my son called best friend, a child I watched grow up and believed in the way you believe in kids who feel like your very own. I treated him like he was my own. He was 14 years old. His brother played in the NBA. He was an honor roll student, great student, smarty pants. He had a future that looked like everything this country tells Black boys to work towards. He was doing the work. He had the talent. He had the family name. Okay. He had the connections. He had every reason to believe the road ahead was going to open up for him. He worked hard on his sport. He was an incredible basketball player. And then one digital decision changed everything. He and other minors, it was over 20 actually, exchanged illicit images. Okay, listen. Real talk. There was girls at this. I'm trying not to be cruel, but let me just be clear. Girls are so aggressive with boys these days. They're aggressive. So these girls were sending out pictures to the boys. No one was forcing them to do this. They were sending these pictures out to boys. I'm telling you not what the news said. I'm telling you what I know. These girls were sending pictures out to boys, and the girls were sending pictures to each other. The boys were sending them around to each other. And eventually there was a little kerfluffle at school, and one of the girls went into the office and told. And this is where this all unfolded. Okay, but only two, after they called in about 20 kids into the office, two wound up being the central part of this story, and one wound up getting prosecuted. So let me just say that yes, both teenagers, both kids, no parent predators, no grooming, no trafficking. Two kids doing what teenagers across the country do every single day. And these two that wound up being the center of the story were seeing each other. Okay. They had previously participated in consensual fornication. Okay. The girl was hot. Okay. She was outside. She's what we would call fast. She was a fast ass. And the system didn't care about those details. Okay. The police came to the school. Prosecution followed after that, and let everybody be very clear about something because I was close enough to see exactly what was happening. On top of the fact that this boy was my son's best friend, so I know this girl was very aggressive in pursuing this young man. Okay. They were not looking for justice, though. The police were not looking for justice. They were sending a message, the way that this was handled, to the community, to other kids, to other families. They picked that kid, they picked him and used him as an example. And everyone who knew him had to sit there and watch it happen. I, at one point, tried to intervene, provide the mother with a great attorney, a sniper named James Bryant with the Cochran firm. But she decided she wanted to do things her own way, right? She has that's her prerogative. And she deserved to make the decision on how it was handled. And James is aggressive. He's with the Cochran firm. He's good. He's very aggressive. I'm not sure she wanted to handle things that way. So she handled them her own way. James don't miss, but he didn't get the opportunity for the fight. The family chose a different direction. That was their right. And I'm not his parent. I would have done things differently, but I'm not his parent. I could not make that decision for them. All I could do was make the recommendation, make the connection, and then watch the situation decline. I sat back and I watched that kid lose his whole future. His whole future. I want you to sit with that for a second, not skim past that moment. He was 14. He lost his whole future. Everything he worked for, everything his family invested, every morning practice, every weekend tournament, every grade, every goal, every dream, gone before he was old enough to drive. It devastated a large part of the community. And there was a lot of conflict because, people started taking sides. And in case I forgot to mention, yes, he was Black. His brother played in the NBA. And the girl, she was not. Okay? She was not. It devastated the community. It caused a lot of divisiveness. And it lives with me every single day. That is why I am here. That is why I wrote this book. But hold on, let me show you, in case you ever decide you want to kind of look up this situation, because I'm trying to not, put their names out there, but you can do your homework and you can see, this was the situation. It was on every major media outlet, CBS, ABC. It was in the San Jose Mercury News. It was everywhere. Contra Costa Times. It was everywhere. And with that being said, with it being everywhere, some of the details, of course, were left out, but they were minor. So, they don't talk about some of the details that come from his side. They more or less talk about the details that come from his side and from her side. Also, her father was friends with the police. A male involved threatened to use photos that he acquired of the female victim. She sent the pictures. He threatened to use the photos if she failed to engage in sexual misconduct. They had already been doing it. I read one article where her mom was like, oh, she was a baby. Yeah, they all were the same age, but he wound up doing time, right? And she went back to doing what she was doing before it all happened. All that being said, I went ahead, because the situation was so important to me, and wrote this book. I think it was very important that we start having these conversations with our young people, because it's important. It's important. And the things that get left unsaid are the things that wind up destroying their future. His whole future is gone because these conversations were not had. And that's kind of hurtful, because that, it's pretty much saying it was avoidable. Maybe, but now we'll never know. We'll never know. So, with that being said, Here's what most people do not know. The same laws in most states do not have a carve out for minors. The law does not say the sender has to be an adult. The law says the image involves a minor. It doesn't say, it doesn't care who sends it. That's the line, not the age of the sender. The age of the subject, the person in the pictures, makes it a crime. So when a 14-year-old sends an illicit image of themselves to another 14-year-old, depending on what state, that can be charged as production and distribution of child pornography. The child who took the picture is the producer. The child who sent it is the distributor. The child who received it is in possession. All three of those are potential charges. All three of those can be felonies. In 23 states, there are no specific teen sexting laws. That means there's no reduced charge, no diversion program written into the statute, no legal acknowledgement that a teenager making a bad decision is categorically different from an adult predator. They fall differently under child pornography laws, but who sends it does not matter. You can still get charged no matter what age you are. And before you say your state has teen sexting protections, let me stop you right there. Some states do have those provisions, but they're very inconsistent. They're not universal, and they do not prevent a prosecutor with discretion and an agenda for pursuing the harder charge. Okay? Prosecutorial discretion is real. When you have prosecutorial discretion, understand you might think you know how this is going to go, but you can't be sure. It means the prosecutor gets to decide what to charge and how hard to push. Okay? As I told you about this child that I love, when the goal is to make an example, discretion gets used as a weapon. Here are more numbers you need to know. The average sentence of an adult convicted of child pornography offenses is 115 months. That is nearly 10 years. This young man got sentenced to 111 months. Did you hear what I said? For an adult, it's 115 months. He got sentenced to 111 months in DJJ. I'm sorry. Now, most juveniles will go through the juvenile court and will face that, okay? Juvenile court. But he got charged as an adult. Making an example, this is what I'm telling you. When they have the discretion, it could easily not go your way. But they can face delinquency findings that follow them over and over. They can face sex offender registration in some jurisdictions, and he has those. They can face consequences that close doors permanently before they have had a chance to walk through them. And the charge alone, before conviction, before sentencing, before any of that, the charges alone can pull a scholarship, terminate a contract, end a career, and destroy a reputation in one news cycle. One headline, one charge, before guilt is even established. Done. Here's what I get judgy about. This is how I get judgy. And I mean genuinely judgy. Not performative. Not performative. Pissed off. Judgy. For real. Parents are giving children smartphones, unlimited data, and unsupervised access to every platform on the internet, and then acting shocked when those same children make decisions that children make. Your child did not invent this behavior. They learned it from somewhere. They learned it from a culture that normalized it. They're surrounded by their peers. Their peers are doing it. Research shows teenagers believe 90% of their peers are sexting. That belief alone, even if they're not, because sometimes they just be talking, that belief Whether it is accurate or not drives behavior. If a child believes someone is doing something, they rationalize it as low risk and socially acceptable. And then they make the decision to try it themselves or not. And the phone does not rest, because here is what teenagers do. This is what they don't understand about digital content. Nothing disappears. They don't. They seem to think once you delete it, it's gone, and it's not. Snapchat told a generation of kids that images disappear. That was a lie. That was a lie. That destroyed childhoods. Screenshots exist, screen recordings exist, third party apps that save content before it gets deleted exist. And even without all of that, forensic digital recovery can pull deleted content off of a device that a child thought was clean. Okay? The image your child sent at 11 p.m. or 12 o'clock when they thought you were asleep on a Saturday, thinking it was between two people, that image has a life you cannot control the moment you hit send. 17% of teens who receive explicit images share them with someone, at least one person. 55%, 55% of those share with more than one person. Do the math on that. Your child sends one image to one person, that person shares it with multiple people. Those people share it further. The original image that felt private is now in group chats or shared devices on platforms that you've probably never even heard of, attached to your child's name and face, especially now with AI, the way things are working. Okay. Now they're taking those images, embedding them, and these images attached to your child's name is living forever. There is no go delete it. And all of that happens before any law enforcement even gets involved. That is just the social exposure, the humiliation, the cyberbullying, the screenshots that end up at school on Monday morning. And then law enforcement gets into it. They become a part of the equation, and you have a completely different level of devastation for this kid. Here's another thing parents are not tracking. They're not even thinking about this. Coaches in college programs are doing deep social dives and audits on recruits. This is not new. This has been standard practice for years. The NCAA rules allow coaches to monitor public social media activity of prospective student athletes. Let me say that for you one more time. The NCAA rules allows for coaches to monitor your kids' socials and do all of their digital investigation. Okay? They are looking at everything: posts, tagged photos, comments, who your child associates with online, what those people post, and what your child likes, shares, or cosigns. A child athlete who has no inappropriate posts on their own can still lose a scholarship offer. They can, because of what is on those accounts. They can, of people that they follow and interact with. One program pulled a scholarship offer because a recruit continued posting inappropriate content over the coaching staff after they addressed it, and they kept posting. Yeah. So he warned them about it, and he kept posting. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. He deleted the account. They were watching, and then he opened a new one. They found it. Offer rescinded, like I told you before. Another athlete lost a Division I scholarship over a YouTube video. A lacrosse player lost her scholarship and her admission over a Snapchat screenshot. A soccer player, same outcome, different post. These are not isolated incidents. These are not anomalies. This is the current operating reality for student athletes and their families. And the bar keeps raising because the competition for those scholarships keep intensifying. Your child is not being evaluated on talent alone. I know you would like to believe that, but it ain't true. Otherwise, they wouldn't have to put the language out there that lets you know we're monitoring your socials. They're being evaluated on character. They're being evaluated on judgment and their personal brand. Listen, every single day on every single platform by people they might never meet. Decisions are being made about them and their future in real time. They are. So it's just interesting to me that people continue to, I don't know, just be in denial about the moment that we're in right now, where your digital footprint lives forever. And they think, you know, I'm good enough no matter what. They're going to take me. Absolutely not. You're going to get fried. You're going to get cooked. You're going to get cooked because at the end of the day, uh, these schools are investing in you. They're investing in you and they want you to be able to carry that name, the name of the school, the name of the program. You know, coaches don't really want to be bothered with having to explain why their player or someone they brought onto the team has posted something absolutely inappropriate. They just don't. They just don't. So again, that's why I took the time to write this. And that story and a few more details are included in the first part of this. So if you get the opportunity, I'm actually going to leave a link in the captions for you to get it for free because I think it's that important. Okay. I think it is that important for you to understand and for your child to understand social media and their digital footprint. So let me be honest with you about something. A lot of parents are not having this conversation with their children because they're uncomfortable with it. They're uncomfortable. They said so much as so. I don't know how to start this conversation. What should I say? I don't know. I don't know how to deal with it. I understand that. I do. Because having a conversation about complex issues is not easy for everybody. The topics are sensitive. Nobody wants to sit across from their kid and have a conversation about sexting. It feels awkward. It feels like you're introducing something they might not even know about yet. It feels like, hell, it feels dirty. Like, ew, just gross. What are you talking about? Pictures of your privates and then sending them. Like, that's not a conversation most people want to have with their kids. It's just not. Let me dismantle that right now, though. Let me walk you through it because I think it's important that we learn how to simplify things through conversation, even with our kids. Your child already knows. If they have a smartphone and they go to school with other children, they already know. The question is not whether they have been exposed to this. The question is whether they have been equipped with the right framework to make the decisions about it. There's a difference between a child who knows sexting exists and a child who understands the full legal, social, and reputational weight of a single digital decision. The first one, your kid already knows, okay? Let's just get that out the way. The second one is your job, okay? And here is what I observed watching the family of the child I love navigate this situation. When crisis hits, parents default to the attorney they know instead of the attorney they need. So there's that. They make decisions based on familiarity and comfort in the middle of a situation that requires strategy and precision. I recommended James Bryant of the Cochran firm because in a moment like that, you need someone who is built for that fight. We knew it wasn't just the sexting. We knew there was Uh, there was a component of racism. We knew there was a component of making an example, meaning the opportunity to be too harsh with the punishment based on the lesson you're trying to teach the rest of the community. The family went a different direction. And I say this not to criticize the family because they were in crisis and they were doing the best they knew how to do. I say this because it's a pattern. Families are unprepared on the legal side, underprepared on the communication side, and underprepared on the strategy side because they never thought that they would be in that situation. Nobody thinks they'll be in that position until they're in it. That's why crisis comms exists. Crisis PR is a thing because people don't know that they need the help to be prepared for types of emergencies until it happens. But you should be prepared and proactive instead of reactive. That is the whole point of preparation. You prepare so that when the moment comes, you're not making life altering decisions from a place of panic and grief. And let me say something that I just feel like you need to hear. The families that get hit hardest by these types of situations are the families that did everything right or thought they were doing everything right in every other area. Good grades, good home, great values, active parents. This one had a brother in the NBA, church on Sunday, all of it. And they still end up in a courtroom because nobody told the child what the law actually says about a photo sent from one phone to another on a Tuesday night. Good parenting does not protect your child from the law. It does not. They need to have the information. Information protects children. Conversation protects children. Preparation protects your children. Okay? I want to pivot for a minute because the episode is not just about parents. It is also for coaches. It is for athletic directors. It's for travel ball organizations, club teams, sports academies, and anyone who works with student athletes at any level. Okay? You have a responsibility here too. Most athletic programs have a code of conduct. Most of them address drug, alcohol, all those things. Most of them address academics. Very few of them have a clear, specific, updated policy around digital conduct and the legal consequences of sexting for minors. The gap is liability, not just for your athlete, for your program. When one of your students gets caught up in a situation like this, and it happens, it does not just impact and reflect on that child. It affects your program's reputation, your recruiting pipeline, your relationships with parents and your community, and your ability to attract the kind of institutional support and sponsorship that programs need to grow. You have a vetted interest. You have a vetted interest in bringing people into your organization as sponsors, as supporters. And that can all go away, as hard as you work for it, with reputational dismemberment. Because at the end of the day, that's what happens. You have an interest in making sure every athlete in your program understands what is at stake digitally. That means bringing in people who know how to have this conversation, not just a social media policy document buried in an athletic handbook that nobody reads. An actual conversation, an actual workshop, an actual educational experience that meets the kids where they are and explains the stakes in language they understand and can take seriously. That is part of what I do. That is part of what Sand and Shores does. We work with programs and organizations to get ahead of these issues before they become headlines. Because I've seen it happen over and over because they weren't prepared. Because they weren't prepared. Listen, because I promise you, the call that you make to bring in resources before a crisis is significantly less expensive in every possible way than the call you have to make after a crisis happens. Okay. I want to zoom in for a minute because I think we also have to talk about the systemic piece of this. Spooky. When I say the police and prosecution use that child to send a message, I am not being hyperbolic. That is what happened. And it was so hard to watch. And it's not unique. It's not unique to that case. The criminal legal system has a long and well documented history of using young Black boys as an example, of choosing cases not based purely on the severity of the offense, but based on the statement that a high profile prosecution makes to a community, of treating the futures of certain children as acceptable collateral in a broader strategy of deterrence. Do you feel what I'm putting down? The family, the child had a brother in the NBA. The family had visibility. And that visibility made the prosecution more attractive, not less attractive. Because the point of an example is that people see it. I'm not telling you the system is broken in a way that is surprising to most of you who are watching this. I'm telling you that the specific machinery of how it operates in cases like this needs to be named clearly so that parents understand the full landscape. And I promise you, if that boy had no melanin in his skin, there's absolutely no way he would have got prosecuted in 111 months in DJJ. Absolutely not. Your child's talent does not protect them. Your family's reputation does not protect them. Your zip code does not protect them. Your relationship with the right people does not protect them. Preparation protects them. Knowledge protects them. The right attorney on speed dial, hear me when I tell you, can protect them. And a family culture where difficult conversations happen before the crisis happens, that protects them. Okay? That is the work. That is it. Let me give you something you can actually use coming out of this episode. Here's the conversation framework. Have it tonight, not next week, tonight. First, tell your child exactly what the law says, not a watered down version. Please, the actual law. A minor sending explicit images is a criminal act in most states. The law does not care how old the sender is. The law does not care if it was consensual. The law does not care if both people wanted it. The law looks at the image and the age of the person in it. That is the standard. The person in the image, if they're a minor, it's a crime. Second, tell your child that nothing digital disappears. Walk them through exactly how content travels. One sin becomes multiple sins, becomes a group chat, becomes a screenshot, becomes evidence. Explain forensic recovery. Look it up if you need to. Explain that deleting something from your phone does not delete it from the receipts. It does not. It does not delete it from the cloud backup, from the platform servers, from the law enforcement subpoena. Use those words. Third, tell your child that their athletic career is being evaluated digitally right now. Coaches are watching, programs are watching, recruiters are watching, not just their posts, their associations, their digital environment. The wrong affiliations can cost an offer, and they're not even thinking about it. Maybe an offer that hasn't even come yet. Fourth, make your home a place where your child can come to you before a mistake becomes a crisis. The children who get help in time are the children who felt safe enough to say something early. The children who don't say something until it's too late are the children who were afraid of the reaction That's it. Make sure your child knows they will get a problem solving parent, not a reactive one, when they come to you with something hard. Fifth, know your resources in advance. Know the right attorney in your area. Know a communications professional who handles crisis situations. Hi, Tonya McKenzie here. Have your contacts before you need them, because in the middle of a crisis, you don't have time to vet people. You need to be able to make one call and trust that the person on the other end knows exactly what to do. That's the framework. 5 things, none of them complicated, all of them necessary. All right? So here's the deal. I started this episode with a child I love. I did. I do. I still love him to death. I'm going to end it there. He's not a cautionary tale to me. He's a person. He's somebody's son. He's somebody's brother. And he was my son's best friend. He was my son's best friend, and he deserved better than what happened with him. I cannot undo what happened to him, but I can make sure that the information that might have changed the outcome for his family and for him is available for every family that comes afterwards. Again, this is the manual. I mean, it's a book, it's a manual, it's 94 pages, a story, and then really some outlines about what you should be doing to build the digital platform and what you shouldn't be doing. Come on. That's it. That's the platform. That is every episode of this show. That the ultimate playbook, public relations and media relations for student athletes and parents. It covers digital safety, reputational management, media relations, crisis preparation, and everything your family needs to know before the internet and the legal system write your child's story for them. And guess what? It's free because I want you to have it. There's no reason not to get it. Get your copy right now at the link below. And if you need me directly, if you have a student athlete, a team, a program, or an organization that needs this work, okay? And on a deeper level, I'm here. That's what I do. This is Sand and Shores, my company. That's what we do. We get in front of a crisis before they happen. We build the communication structure that protects athletes, families, and organizations when the pressure is on. And we have the real world experience to do it because, listen, I didn't just study this. I have lived next to this. I've lived in this. I have 4 student athletes myself. Okay, I come from a family of athletes. One day, stick around, make sure you subscribe. I'll tell the story about my cousin Walter, who is a 3 pro sport athlete and what they put in his NFL contract to keep him from going home every weekend. I'll share that with you one day. Anyways, you can reach me at tmckenzie at sandandshores.com. Visit sandandshores.com. Get your free playbook at Sand and Shores. Actually, on HubSpot, I want you to subscribe to Control the Narrative. I share more tips and tricks and, how you talk about different conversations because, if you don't control the narrative, the streets will, and it will not be in your favor. Anyways, hit the subscribe button. I usually go live. I don't do a lot of planning my talks. I just go live when something is on my heart. And this is because there's been some other kids that have gotten in some digital trouble recently and missed out on their scholarship. One, their NIL was pulled and it was for a lot of money. So I'm letting you know because this was on my mind. It's important. Please make good decisions when it comes to your kiddo. Don't be afraid to have the tough conversations. Subscribe, comment below, and do you have any specific questions? All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Talk to you soon. Bye.